Hello. Look at Michelle, or don't look at Michelle. Hello, everybody. That very, very nice to have you with us. Very, very nice to have you with us.
I'm already giggling.
It's Halloween. I don't even know what that means because in the UK it's really not that big of a deal. Some kids go out a bit and sort of knock on doors and things like that, but I know that in the US it's really massive. So it's a Halloween anyway. So hopefully we'll bring you some cheer. In a moment, Michelle's going to do the big reveal. Normally before the show, we have like a little bit of a warm up where we talk with each other and discuss what we're going to talk about and so on. And Michelle has refused to show us.
Drum roll ready to go. The drum roll.
Oh, there's no sound effects. I wish I had a drum roll. That's a shame. But she's not showing her camera.
No offense to Daniel or Gabriel, but could you put just you and me on the screen for a moment, Nathan?
Oh, can I do that? Yeah, I think I can. Yeah,
I don't
know.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
Oh Lord, that's so. Okay, all right. So anybody who's listening to this will probably know that. I mean, I'm guessing you're trying to be me.
You can bring back our other guest though.
Michelle's wearing a grey wig, and she's sort of like she's rubbed whatever that is to make herself have a bit. Oh, Michelle, I think that is really funny. Thank you for doing that. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm not going to be able to speak for the next moment or two. I'm going to bring everybody else back in.
The other Nathan.
That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. No human has ever tried to look like me ever before. Michelle, I appreciate that.
I've been giggling for 2 weeks since I thought of this. I have not had a day where I haven't laughed hysterically. I can't even see through these glasses because they're bifocals. But my other ones are too early.
I swear that is absolutely genius. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. Right. Right. Let's see what we got. We've got a few comments coming in. It's time for spooky WordPress. Hello, WordPress peeps, says Rob Cairns. Thank you very much for joining us.
It doesn't get any spookier than me dressed up as you, Nathan.
And he says that he's dying here. He's obviously enjoying that. That's hysterically funny. Oh, I haven't introduced everybody. I got totally derailed, Michelle, by that. Let me introduce everybody.
Introduce our guest.
Let's introduce our guest. Well, first of all, I need to introduce Michelle Frechette, aka Nathan Wrigley. Nathan is the director of community engagement at Stellar WP at Liquid Web. He's been called the busiest woman in WordPress by Matt Mullenweg at WordCamp US 2022. I'm going to just go normal now. In addition to her work at Stellar WP, Michelle is the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk, co-founder of underrepresentingtech.com, creator of WP Career Pages, the president of the board at BigOrangeHeart.org, director of community relations and contributor at poststats.com, co-host of WP Motivate, the lovely new podcast that she's got with Kathy Zant, podcast author, business coach, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress events. Michelle lives outside Rochester, New York, where she's an avid nature photographer. And you can find out more by going to meetmichelle.online. I am not going to get over this. There's no way that I'm not going to be chuckling throughout this episode. More silliness in the world is a good thing.
Now, wait a minute. I said I was a bug. You said yours was close.
I said I'm kind of a bug too.
Right, let's try and wrangle this back together. Right. First of all, I think everybody should go and share this. Let's just say that at the start. Go to Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is and share out wpbuilds.com/live. We need more faces in to see this silliness. This is going to be great. Okay, so our next guest is Daniel Schutzsmith. Hello, Daniel. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, very nice.
From sunny Florida.
We're going to look at something Daniel created this week and later on in the show. Daniel is the team leader at Pinellas County Government, overseeing all of the public-facing websites and interactive experiences to help the public get the information they need easily and intuitively. When not working, he enjoys giving back his time to the WordPress community at WordCamp, and he's a meetup organizer as well as the producer at the WP Minute and contributor to Post Status. Busy man. What's the
There's a lot of producers.
Oh, okay. Producer.
Matt will come for you.
Well, anyway, absolute pleasure to have you with us once again.
Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. And somebody new. We've never had Gabriel Koen on before, but here is Gabriel. Very nice to have you, Gabriel. I apologize, Gabriel. It's not normally this riotous, but it's a good one to be on, I think. Gabriel is the Vice President of Technology at PMC, where he leads engineering, DevOps, data, and privacy. He has been a user of WordPress since version 1.2. Good grief, wow. And now runs WordPress for some very recognizable brands, including, wow, Gabriel, Rolling Stone, Billboard, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter. I confess I've not heard of The Hollywood Reporter, but the other ones, man alive. Gabriel, it's like royalty on the show today.
It's pretty insane. It's even for me, having been here for a while.
Yeah, that's amazing. WordPress 1.2. This is fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope that you enjoy it enough to come back, and you too could dress up as me if you want that opportunity.
I'm sensing a theme show next Halloween.
Yeah. Okay, so typically at the beginning we just go through a few comments. What have we got? We've got quite a few. Thank you for mentioning them. Rob Ken says he's dying. Peter Ingersoll, thanks for joining us, says that he found that hilarious. Dennis from Main WP says that he thinks that's very, very awesome. This Bob Don or Bob WP, this will haunt my dreams for many nights to come. Man alive, there's no sleep to be had tonight after we've seen this from anybody, is there? And a few other people just sort of saying hello and various other things. Jamie, I don't think we've come across Jamie before. It's very nice to have you from Rockville. What does MD stand for? Which state's
Maryland?
Maryland. Okay. Makes sense. Hello, Belgrade. Hello from Belgrade from Maya Longcar. And we'll sort of pause it there. This is I've got a pinned message. I don't know what's happened there, but it seems to have a message pinned.
Hi, Paul.
Something on the screen.
Paul Lacey's with us now, and I want to know if he ever dressed up as you when he was your co-host.
No, he did not. No, and
he didn't commit to the bit.
There will be a new rule, Michelle, and the new rule will be not to dress up as Nathan ever.
Can again. I just say it's not easy? It's not easy being Nathan Wrigley. My head itches like crazy right now.
It's not easy being me, Michelle. I'm glad that you've discussed. Yes, thank you. It is not easy being me. I'm going to go off and have a little cry in the corner, if that's okay.
I just noticed you also have the ponytail there in the back.
I do, yes.
Really see on camera.
Yeah, just like the real thing. Oh, that's
this wig. When I got it, I looked like Gandalf because this big white wig. So it's ponytail just like you. Anyway, right, let's get on with the WordPress news, shall we? Okay.
No, before then, I've got a few little silly things up my sleeve. I might as well just share them with you at the beginning. First off, I don't know if you've noticed, we've got ourselves a sort of little background here. We've got ourselves a bit of a pumpkin
gourds.
Background. Yeah, okay, that's all good. But then I thought to myself, what could I do to make myself a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more pumpkin-y or something like that. So here's the first one. Give me your marks out of 10. Which one should I stick with? Should we go for the moon throughout this episode? That's kind of, it's all right. What about this one with two hideous-looking pumpkins on either side? And no, okay. There's a YouTube video we can play in the background, and sometimes it actually brings the ads in as well, which is kind of interesting.
It'd probably be a Wix ad, though.
Yeah. Yes, it was. There was absolutely a Wix ad there, which would be really funny.
Surprise.
Or we could go for this other video, just here, that one like that. Or, just being a little bit cheeky here, I hope nobody takes this in the wrong way. There's this chap that he just doesn't leave me alone. He's just pestering me, and what's going on there?
Oh, hello.
Who's this fella? Hang on, he's just popped away for a moment. Who's that little chap? There he is. Make him go away. Let's go with the YouTube video and hope we don't get a Wix ad at some point during the show. Right? Okay. Right, let's share the screen and get on with the show properly and talk about WordPressy stuff. First things first, this is us, WP Builds. If you fancy just subscribing to the stuff that we do, you can fill out this little form just here, and we'll keep you updated on our newsletter when we produce podcast episodes. The thing which we've got going on at the moment is we've got this Black Friday deals page where we're starting to list out all of the Halloween, which will probably end by tomorrow, but all of the Black Friday deals. If you scroll down, we've got these sponsored slots at the top. You can see GoDaddy, WS Forms, Stellar, and Gravity Forms. They're the ones that have sponsored us so far. There's a couple of slots remaining. And then if you go down here, you can click search and you can filter and sort of basically find all the WordPress deals. We've got quite a few, already. Some of them will run out in the next day or so, but many of them carry on through Black Friday. The URL is tremendously hard to remember. It's wpbuilds.com/black. Let me say that one more time. wpbuilds.com/black. Bookmark it. Might be useful at some point in the future. Also, if you fancy winning an award, I know there's the other awards going on, the actual legitimate awards, which Devinder is running. Well, we're going to run our little rival award. The weirdness with this one is that basically, if you give $20 to Big Orange Heart, screenshot your donation, then come over here and fill out this form, I will guarantee that you will win a category. You just have to name your category, and I will 100% guarantee that you're going to win it. And we've got a few in at the moment. We've got the best form plugin that begins with WS. Well, guess who's going to win that? That'll be WS Form. The best WordPress CRM named after Groundhog Day. Well, that'll be won by Groundhog CRM. So get yourself involved. It can be found on our website. It's wpbuilds.com/awards. And really, it's just a bit of a gimmick to raise some much-needed finances for Big Orange Heart.
I was waiting to do mine, but mine is going to be the podcaster that looks the most like Nathan Wrigley.
I know, and the sad thing is, I have to allow you to win it.
I know. Can
I get my rival bid in first?
Can I pay extra to get a photograph in with that?
Yes. Paul Lacey says best Nathan Wrigley impersonator award.
Perfect. I like
that. And look, here we go. Adam Warner says the other great. The other Nathan Wrigley. Yeah, like the world needs two. Okay, anyway, that's available. Go and make use of it. Right, WordPressy stuff. Let's get on with it. First things first, WP Tavern. Sarah Gooding wrote a piece on the 25th of October entitled Gutenberg Contributors Explore a New Browse Mode for Navigating the Site Editor. I don't know what your thoughts are, Gabriel, Michelle, and, all three of you. Let's just say that. I just think it's getting to be a bit cluttered. There's so many different modes, there's so many different places where the UI can be, especially with full site editing thrown into the mix. It feels like there's a million different places, and for me at least, I think we probably need to put the brakes on a little bit and try to figure out what this whole thing should look like. I'm not saying it's not usable. I totally think it is, but I think it probably could be easier. If we took a leaf out of successful things like Elementor, where everything's, the UI really hasn't changed that much over the time because they kind of hit it out the park first time. But one thing that's being mooted, and it's not necessarily going to happen, is the idea of this new browse mode. There's a little video here which might give you a better indication. If you're watching it, rather than listening to it, essentially you can see what's going on, but there's a panel on the left hand side. You click the design menu and you can decide what you want to edit. You can pick a particular page, or you could pick a particular post type and what have you, and then you enter into the editing of that, and then when you're done you sort of save it away and it goes kind of full screen so that there's less distraction. Personally, I think this has got legs. I really like the idea of a menu down the left-hand side where everything lives. That seems like a sort of sensible approach to me, rather than having it in sort of like pop-up pieces all over the place. But curious as to what you guys think. What do you make of this?
My take is, it's good for the future for sure. Where I get wondering about things is that we're like double menuing things. Yeah. So we have the normal WordPress admin menu that's in a little bit further and a little bit more condensed, and then we have this menu, which I love, which this menu could take over for that. That'd be awesome. But the separation of the two is what I always see, at least folks on my end getting confused at, is you're going from one menu to a completely different looking menu. I hope they keep evolving it. I think it has legs for sure to keep going.
If you had to pick this width that we're looking at on the screen, which is, I would say, it's roughly 2x the normal admin menu in WordPress, would you prefer a wide menu like that, or would you prefer to stick with the narrower one that we've got?
On this one, I don't. From what I remember, I can't actually move it.
Yeah.
The distance of it. So I prefer one where we can actually move it. That's
okay. So you could resize it, and that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of feel that the admin UI, that the menu down the left hand side was probably a really good size when screen real estate was a big issue, but now it feels like everybody's got a monitor which is significantly bigger than it was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And something like this, which is big, because I don't know, it just gives it a bit of space to breathe. The menu items in this particular video, they're not crowded out by anything else. But yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Daniel. Gabriel or Michelle or Nathan?
Yeah, honestly, my thoughts are very similar to Daniel's. Like, it is a pretty cool view. I could see it being useful to a lot of people. For our sites, I don't know how much use it would necessarily get. So, that's one thing that I like about a lot of new features they introduced to WordPress like this, where you're able to at least filter them out if you're never going to touch it. But the risk to me is like, there's just so many ways to get to all of these little pockets, and you're kind of in half leg in one world and half in the other, and that gets a little weird and confusing.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Michelle, what about you?
I won't use it, but I'm kind of stuck in the way that I learn things, and I stick with the old ways. And the only place that I really struggle with the UI is on mobile, when I'm trying to troubleshoot something and I'm not near a computer. So I don't know what this looks like on mobile, but I would think it would feel like a nightmare to me because I couldn't access the menu very easily.
Interesting point. Yeah, that is a good point. By the way, Michelle, I literally cannot watch your video. It's just cracking me up. She's renamed herself on the screen the other Nathan Wrigley.
Put it off to the side.
That's right. Yeah, we just mute. Is there any way to kind of freeze it, or just actually put an old picture, a traditional Michelle on the screen? No, I don't think so. Okay, so it's an interesting concept. I would really love it though if we could decide on a thing. To me, this feels like a good thing. I like the look of it. I like the width of it. I like the space of it. I like all of it. But I do wish that all the heads would collide and we'd just get one thing which we could then
I think one of the things that we need to remember though, Nathan, is that everybody who's using WordPress isn't coming from the same user experience.
That's a good point.
And the same user needs. And so for some people, this, if you're a blogger and that is what your entire site is dedicated towards, something like this would be much easier to use than, or maybe much more geared towards you than somebody who's building an e-commerce site, for example. So I think that it really brings into the fact that we're trying to reach more people and make WordPress more accessible based on needs.
Yeah. It looks nice to me. We'll see. Let's see where it goes. But very much at the moment, it's not mooted to be a thing. It's just here's an idea. Let's see what comes of it. However, this is going to be a thing. Let me just pop the screen back on. This is a video, so I probably will just play the video if that's all right. And it's Anne McCarthy, who has been on the show several times, and we all know what Anne's busy doing. She's working with Automatic. She's seconded out and helping build out Gutenberg and full site editing and all of these kind of things. And she got so excited by something that she saw that's coming out in the next version of Gutenberg. I believe it's 14.1, but I could be wrong about that. And it's called distraction free mode. And she shot a video and I really like it. I've got to say, it's pretty, there's not sort of great grandstanding about it, but essentially, if you look at the moment, you're looking at a typical WordPress install. She's got content which she can edit on the screen, the menu on the right, the menu at the top. And what she does is she clicks on the menu at the right, and you can see on the screen there's this thing called distraction free mode. This is the new thing. And once you click on that, every bit of the UI disappears. And by that, I mean literally all of it. So that's it. If you start to edit the text, you don't get any options. There's no kind of like left align, right align, bold, italic, nothing. It's just distraction free. And then if you wish to come out of that mode, or you wish to interact and edit things in a different way, what you do is you hover your mouse towards the top of the screen, and it comes back, but you have to hover at the top. Again, I've no idea how this would behave on mobile, but I like to write in an environment like that. The Mac apps that I've got and things like that that I use for writing, I always choose to make everything go away if I possibly can. I'd imagine there'll be a subset of people who would find this incredibly useful. But Michelle, aka Nathan, you said you wouldn't be using anything like this. It's not of interest to you.
No, I usually either write directly, and I'm just so used to it's not a distraction to me to have everything else kind of on the screen. But the other thing is I tend to write in a Google Doc first and then just kind of paste it into WordPress. And so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
And when you're using Google Docs and you're using the markup there, then it translates like it should. So I've never had problems with H's and everything.
I've never experienced that joy. I know it's supposed to do that, but every time, and I do it on a regular basis. I do it at least once every 2 weeks. I copy and paste a Google Doc because David Wormsley and we do the podcast every 2 weeks together, and he helps me with the show notes, and we collaborate in Google Docs. And it's always a hot mess when I copy and paste it. So I don't know what we're doing wrong. All the headings are exactly as they should be, but I have to go through it line by line and correct the mistakes. So maybe it's some weirdness going on that I've got on my site and nobody else has experienced it, but it's hard.
I'll probably have those same problems today since I'm dressed as you.
Nice. What do you think, Daniel? What do you think, Gabriel?
The one thing, so you said we can't make things like bold or italic when we're doing this?
That's the impression I got from watching it. If you watch, so I'll just scan to a bit of the video. If you like, when so here, for example, she's in the middle of typing, and you can see there's nothing. There's no way at all to sort of. I don't know what would happen if she highlighted the text. Maybe something would.
It's like the Hemingway way of you just keep writing it.
Yeah,
Don't stop.
That's it. Yeah. But I guess if you're like an author or something, it might be good to have that distraction-free approach. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Distraction-free modes, they distract me, ironically. And I'm not even saying that to be funny, but like the lack of kind of Chrome and UI, it freaks me out. Like I don't know what to do. I panic.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well,
but the fact that it exists, like I do know people who like full screen editing experiences, and it's like, okay, it's harmless to have that feature. So
Adam in the comments makes the point that he thought that this was already a thing, and I think one of you, before we clicked go, was it you, Daniel? You said that oh crikey, look, we've run out of video and we now got some.
Yeah, we definitely had distraction free before, but I think you were pointing out there was still some user interface around it.
Right. Yeah, it was the top toolbar, wasn't it? You could put that in, but this really is like another step into the dark. Courtney, as always, is mine of knowledge. Thank you. She says she thinks shortcuts will still work, but no toolbars display.
Hey, it'll get people to figure out shortcuts
learn the keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, and there's a lot of them. And Adam wants to know. So, Courtney, I'm batting this straight back to you. Is there a keyboard shortcut for activating distraction mode? I wonder. I don't actually.
There was on the thing.
Was there? There was a little keyboard shortcut
next to it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so you could just toggle it on and off as you please. I mean, it really does feel to me like people who are doing long form writing who are sitting down for to do something for a good hour, 2 hours, and they just don't want to get distracted by things. But anyway, it's coming to a WordPress near you fairly soon. Gutenberg 14.1, I think. But you can try it out if you like by downloading the Gutenberg plugin. Right, so this let me just pop it on the screen. There we go. Again, we're back on the tavern. Sarah Gooding writing. I don't know if we'll dwell on this for particularly long. But the Web Almanac produced this giant report every so often. I believe is it every year? I'm not sure if it's annual or biannual, but it's huge. It's like 700 plus pages of data all about the state of the web. And, it's absolutely massive. One of the subsets of that they deal with is CMSs. We talked about the stuff about the growth of WordPress and so on and so forth in the way that we have done in the past. But one of the things that Sarah picked up out of the report, which I didn't pick up on, I confess, is that it would appear that a lot of WordPress websites are losing out on search engine rankings because they're their images are lady loading. That's a new thing. Lazy loading in a way which doesn't conform well to Google's standards. We've got Core Web Vitals and things like LCP, Last Contentful Paint, and vanilla WordPress should handle this pretty well. There was a bit of a bother at one point where everything got lazy loaded, which didn't work so well. So now Gutenberg has these, WordPress has these heuristics which try to figure out, should this image be loaded right at the beginning in order to get on the page ASAP? But it would appear that we've got a bit of a mismatch in that loads of plugins are affecting the way that this is working and incorrectly tagging things so that they don't get loaded, so that they load later, and then it screws up your search rankings. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and I thought I'd raise it. I don't know if you've come across this before.
No, I mean, it sounds like it was originally a core issue, but now they're saying it's still showing up for some reason, and it seems that they think it could be plugins that are doing that.
Yeah.
But it was fixed in 5.9 from what I understand.
5.9, you're right. There it is, yeah.
So I also wonder in the cross section of how many folks are still on 5.9 that account for that 54% they're saying that are still doing
that's a good point. Yeah. It says prior to WordPress 5.9, WordPress default of lazy loading implementation was causing slower LCP performance. So it was fixed, shipped with a fix in 5.9, but then it would appear that plugins. So, I mean, I imagine at some point, most of us have come across a plugin which handles things like this. You might get some sort of image smushing plugin which carts the images off to your CDN or something like that, and then it's going to be loading them from different places, and maybe it's loading them a bit. It's putting the LCP tag on in an inappropriate way. So just something to be mindful of, really. If you've got a web page and you notice that is failing on your sort of lighthouse scores and things, it's probably worth looking at. Gabriel, anything? Should we move on?
Yeah, I found this one really interesting. It's hard for me to imagine how lazy loading would be impacting something that would affect LCP unless it's doing something horribly wrong, in which case, it doesn't really seem like I don't know how to put it, a WordPress core issue unless it's WordPress core causing the bug.
Yeah.
But also even if you're, the main thing that would be lazy loading on any given page would probably be the primary. Well, sorry, I'm saying this backwards. When you're loading an article or loading a homepage or something like that, your largest contentful page is usually going to be something that's above the fold, like your primary image on there or something like that. So to have that affected by lazy loading seems like either something's wrong with the structure of the site, which is kind of a good thing to flag, but a error that points you in the wrong direction because the error is pointing you towards something that might be happening to your primary content, but maybe it's in your secondary content, and it's not very obvious by just going largest contentful paint, here's the biggest element on the page, that looks like it's okay. So I don't know. I found this one really interesting just for that regard. It almost seems like a red herring in some ways, but it definitely made me want to kind of learn a little bit more about what they might be seeing in their raw data. In this direction.
Well, there's certainly a lot of information. The page that you can go to is almanac.httparchive.org, and you're looking for 2022. It's absolutely massive. It really does cover absolutely everything. It paints a very rosy picture for WordPress in general, but obviously this is one sort of minor little tweak that needs to be fixed. And I'm guessing that the clients that you're dealing with, Gabriel, they want things to be 100% perfect. The likes of Rolling Stone and Billboard and all those publications.
Our sites, they're not 100% perfect.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Oh, that's great. You're just like the rest of us. Oh, that's brilliant. I feel much better already. Okay. Interesting.
I just wanted to mention that this is my favorite article because I am a WordPress bug.
Oh. If you're listening to this and not
100%.
watching it, Daniel has put I don't know what that is, metal straws.
Translucent metal straws.
Translucent metal. He's really, he's gone for it. Translucent metal straws to make himself look like a bog. Perfect. Antennae, yeah. Next week, I'm going to be dressing up as Daniel, and then halfway through the show, I will change to Michelle. I'll just have one of those outfits I can just rip off, and beneath will be.
I want to see you in purple hair.
I don't know. Maybe I've overcommitted. Bob. By the way, every week we find a title from what we've said during the episode, and it becomes the show title. So Rob's saying the show title this week has got to be The Other Nathan Wrigley. Okay, we'll stick with that unless something else comes.
I committed so much. I wore a T-shirt for you. Like I wore an industry T-shirt. I don't wear T-shirts.
Oh, I didn't know that. But look, you're missing the matching cardi, Michelle. Didn't do quite enough research.
Didn't realize.
Very, very much appreciated. I'll never get over this.
Cardigan.
Yeah.
To be fair, the last time I spent time with you was in Southern California.
Yes, I was in a T-shirt only. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's move on. The next piece. Do you know what? There's some episodes of podcasts that I record, and sorry, this isn't supposed to be a self-promotional piece. It was just I recorded it. It came out this week, and so I'm mentioning it because of the issue that it touches. It's an episode for the Tavern. It's called Christina Dima on making digital content usable for people with cognitive disabilities. And this was one of those moments where you realize how utterly, how ill-educated you are. Because Christina in this episode, I believe it's probably about 40 minutes long, something like that. She schooled me for that whole entire time. She told me about things that people experience on the web, and I just didn't know. I mean, I'm familiar with the normal, the sort of screen reader scenarios and things like that. But she goes into all sorts of ways that people with all sorts of different cognitive disabilities are impacted on the web. So one of the things that she mentions quite freely is her autism. She had late diagnosis of autism, and she finds that certain things on the web make it more or less unusable for her. So that's visual, she described. If things flash or flicker, to you or me, it's perhaps an annoyance. To Christina, it's like, no, I cannot look at that, which I found fascinating. I didn't know that was a thing. And then she mentions not just autism, she mentions a whole tranche of different things that people have to contend with. And so it's just a really fascinating episode. The long and the short of it is, there's more to accessibility. I'm going to put it under that umbrella than screen readers and people who have sight impairment. So it was just a really, really interesting interesting listen. I don't suppose the three of you had a chance to listen to it. I don't know, but it was really interesting. And I know this is right in your wheelhouse, Michelle. So I just thought I'll hand it over and see if anybody has any thoughts on this.
I think it's so important that we remember that who we design for, who we're creating websites for, isn't just like us. And that there's a huge wider audience out there, and that if we want them to consume our content, to buy our products or our services, we need to make sure that our sites are fully accessible for those people for whom there are other issues than what we face ourselves. So as I've gotten older, I've discovered I don't like gray print. I don't like tiny print on a website because I've got my bifocals on and I'm leaning in like that old lady on that one meme, that's like, can't see anything. And that's just because of age, right? So there's so many more things to consider. I'm thinking about what Christina might have thought about Flash. Remember when Flash was a thing and every site started with this big old, like, whatever, and marquees that scroll and all of those other, problematic things that we've had over the years. Parallax came and left. Remember, Parallax was like, ooh, cool, we can scroll over images. And I don't see that on any sites anymore unless they're, 2 or 3 years old. So it's very important to remember that there's a wider audience than what we were thinking of when we designed.
Yeah, and to me, one of the things that I had to clarify right at the outset was, could you just please tell me what cognitive disabilities actually, what does that phrase even mean? Because in my mind, I've got a rough idea of what that might have meant. It turns out it was totally. I mean, I had this tiny little target, and it turns out that the bullseye was a whole lot bigger. There was so much more in it, So she mentioned her own autism. She mentioned people who the web is just very confusing. Choices that to me seem straightforward. And the paths that, especially in things like e-commerce, where you go down a path and then you get the upsell and the subsequent downsell and all of these kind of things, to me, it can be a bit irritating and a bit boring to go through that process. But it's not an impediment to carrying it out. It's just I have to jump over the hurdles. Whereas the description that she offered was that some people, this is a complete no entry sign. As soon as they hit those hurdles, that's it. It's like I'm backing out. So please go and have a listen. It was really interesting. Daniel and Gabriel, I'm sorry we've cut you out, but join in.
I had seen her presentation at WordCamp US and caught myself nodding my head a lot because she was also talking a bit about the way we write for the web and being able to make it so that people can be able to really understand what you're talking about, removing jargon, all those things. And that's what we did at Pinellas County Government. It's taken us almost 2 years to do a website redesign, but the bulk of it wasn't in design and development. It was actually rewriting content and making that content up to date so that it could be at like a 7th or 8th grade reading level, basically, and pass different accessibility checks.
Okay, so, right.
Yeah.
And remove jargon.
Daniel, we had Daniel wanted to, and I'm very happy to show the website that he's been working on. Can we just go through a little bit of what you just mentioned? This is the website. It's called. How do you say that word? Is it
Pinellas County, or
Pinellas
sometimes
County.
locals say Pinellas?
Yeah, that was where I was going. So pinellas.gov. So pinellas.gov. This is hot off the press, right? You launched this earlier in the week.
Last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Yep.
Okay, so could you describe some of the little bits and pieces that Christina in that podcast episode would have been talking about? You modified like the way that you wrote. You described.
Yep, the way that all the different pages are written for a lower grade level, basically. So, we found a lot of our pages were coming up under like a collegiate type of writing. And so, immediately you're alienating folks that are trying to get to the information, trying to digest it quickly. And so in government too, people usually just want to use a service. They want to get in, get out. They don't want to sit on these pages and read an essay about something. So it's really just, redefining those things for them. The other key thing is there's no animation on this site. We're not loading things in or flying things around. There is like a little help you screen that comes in the bottom left that you'll notice.
Yeah.
But that's the only piece that's like, might be a little bit distracting to someone. And that's all consciously on purpose, Same thing with videos. Videos aren't auto load. You have to click on it to actually load them. So it's all completely done on purpose so that we wouldn't be distracting folks.
Yeah. So I think it is a tendency, isn't it, for people who write, is that they want their language to be potentially flowery. And sometimes I get the impression, there's a little bit of how well can I, almost like I want this to be poetic and really brilliant, and I want to use lots of complicated words and so on. But that was the antithesis. There you go. I've just used the word antithesis. That was the opposite here. You really tried to keep the language as plain and simple as possible. In the podcast episode, this doesn't mean much to me because I don't know what 10th grade means. But Christina
middle
said,
school.
Okay.
Middle school level.
Okay. She said that's where she would prefer website text was pitched at.
10th grade.
Right. That seems to be what was in my memory there. But the point being, don't go for like university level, lots of crazy synonyms for things which can be described in much more easy, less flowery language.
Yeah, WCAG says, I'm pretty sure it said somewhere in there, it's like an 8th or 9th grade somewhere in there, but
I could be misremembering that, easily misremembering that. Yeah. She mentioned autoplay of videos was a complete no-no. That really does, cause the web to be a horrific experience for lots of people. But another thing that she mentioned was that the guidance around this topic, they're really not sort of firmed up yet. She said they're getting more firmed up. She says cognitive disabilities are amongst the most prevalent types of disabilities, yet experts have struggled to provide web accessibility best practices around this area due to cognitive disabilities being such a broad category. However, recent work by standards groups has begun to address this deficiency, and then I've linked to them at the bottom of the post. So if you are designing, well, especially in Daniel's case, where you're designing a public utility kind of website, I'm guessing that you don't really get a choice about whether you do this or not. You've just got to. You've got to give that a bit of thought.
One
Gabriel.
of the things that I love about Christina's talks about accessibility and how to make your sites better for users is she really does a good job of drawing a line between like useful features and useful ways of using things that are also accessible to a wide, broad, group of people. And that also, makes it a little bit clearer that like there's a lot of people with a lot of different types of disabilities. And kind of to your earlier point, Nathan, it's like it's not something that you think of every day. Like you think of, someone in a wheelchair or someone who can't see or someone who can't hear. But then it's broader than that. And I don't know, I feel like accessibility in general needs a better PR campaign, because when you really dig into like all of the things that make a site more accessible and better for folks with disabilities, it's better for everyone. It's a better user experience. It's
absolutely
better for people who might have broken their wrist, or just someone who's, as you were saying, Daniel, who's just trying to get in skim information. And it feels like by calling it accessibility, or by like saying, if it needs to be with WCAG standards or whatever, it almost gets to this point of like being other, rather than just being something to make websites better.
And I think what developers don't realize a lot too is I think it actually makes development easier because there's really defined things that how you're supposed to actually write that piece of code. So.
Did you have, Daniel, for this particular website, did you have any, so I'll just pop it back on the screen, did you have any sort of legal hoops to jump through? In other words, did you have to prove that you've done certain things, or was there some metric by which it was judged as, that's complete in as much as we can be complete?
Yeah, I mean, the measurements on, it's WCAG AA, the measurements on that is really, like some tools will say it one way, some tools will do it another way. So what we did is take the difference between a few different tools. So like we looked at Axe, we looked at AIM, which is another one, and Site Improve. And then just keep evolving from there. So we're up at least to WCAG 2, WCAG AA. The holy grail would be AAA, but almost no one gets that because of different things that are already being brought on there, different types of scripts and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. So it's Pineas. .gov. I'll put the link in the show notes when we put this out tomorrow. Yeah, fascinating. And how was it built, Daniel? Dare I ask? What was the underlying structure? Are you custom theme? Are you using blocks here? What's going on?
Yep, it's a custom theme built off of it's called Pico Strap now. It's a kind of Bootstrap derivative. But everything, all the content is just blocks. So most of it's core blocks that we've really just reskinned with CSS and a few custom blocks as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice, well done. Anyway, bravo. Yeah, good job.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? Isn't it, Joss? Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. So next one is just want to give a bit of a hat tip. If you're thinking of going to WordCamp Asia, the first WordCamp Asia, we're so close to having the first WordCamp Asia.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Naughty COVID got in the way and it all got mothballed. Yeah. But it's happening again, 17th to the 19th of February 2023. And there is I don't know what the right word is, whether it's scholarship, I think is the word. Oh, yeah, it says, there we go. There is a WordCamp Asia Diversity Scholarship, which is available to apply for. And I'll just quote, in an effort to realize WordCamp Asia's vision, we've collaborated with WordCamp Central to bring the WordCamp Asia Diversity Scholarship. The aim is to make the event truly a welcome experience. And who qualifies? The scholarship will be awarded to someone who, and I don't know if it has to tick all of these boxes, is an active WordPress contributor, project contributor, has never attended any flagship WordCamps before, and by that I think they mean US and Europe, requires financial assistance to attend, is part of the underrepresented demography, of open source contributors and is interested in bringing their experience to grow their local WordPress community. So I'm guessing if you satisfy all of that, there's a bonus point. It says if you can share your contributor story, it'll help us to understand. I don't know exactly what's on offer in terms of dollars, amount of money, or whether or not they just book your hotel for you and get your plane ticket for you. I'm not sure, but if you know somebody who would desperately love to go and satisfies all of those criteria, you can go to asia.wordcamp.org and click around. But I'll put the link in the show notes. So more important stuff. Very nice.
I love it. If you read at the bottom of that list, it does say for more information, you can see what WordCamp US has done with the Kim Parcell Memorial Scholarship. The difference being that this is open to any gender as opposed to women and non-binary.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't notice that, to be honest. Okay, so the Kim Parcell Memorial Scholarship. All right. Okay, so that's that. Right. So just in a spirit of being a bit fun this week, I decided to put out a tweet, and I don't want to dwell on this particularly too much, but I thought this is quite nice. Every so often, I get very, I get very heartened by the WordPress community. I kind of love it. I love the way that we're generally speaking, we don't have too many battles. Although sadly, there was a piece which came out, which I'm not going to cover this week because I only just found out about it, where that really wasn't the case. More on that next week. But I put out a tweet. It was a bit of a silly tweet, and I said, silly question. Who, and it's got to be a singular person. Sorry, Taco. He thought that was, he thought only one person was a bit ridiculous. He wanted like dozens of people. Who in the WordPress space over the last decade, yes, 10 years, I said, has inspired, interested, encouraged, fascinated you most? It's kind of like the Wayback Machine, I said. And I was really chuffed to bits. There was absolutely loads of people who chimed in and just said nice things about each other. And Michelle, I noticed your name got swept into this. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, said that you were there
in India. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. Anyway, if you want to, I'll put the link to that tweet in the show notes. I just thought it was a nice way of, you never know, it's just
very sweet.
Michelle, how did you feel on the back end of somebody that you didn't anticipate was going to doing that? It must have made you feel pretty nice, right?
It made me smile for sure. It was very, very heartwarming. It made me feel good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll link to that.
Yeah.
I didn't get a mention, sadly. little violin. At least I don't think I did. But you can now go for the alternative. You can do my doppelganger if you wish. Right. Next thing, quick deal. We mentioned this last week, but I'm going to keep mentioning it because I think it's quite a good one. Ninja Tables. If you want to get this, they've got a lifetime deal at the moment. I'm not going to dwell too much on what the plugin does. It displays tables, but it displays fairly complicated tables, and it can do things like consume ACF fields. You can even display stuff that's from a Google Sheet, so you can just put stuff in a Google Sheet and it'll create a nice looking table on your website. The reason I'm saying it is because they've got a lifetime deal. It's one of these ones, and having bought one of their lifetime deals in the past from these guys, that I actually think it's something they do support. They keep updating it. I got the Fluent Forms one, and they do keep updating it. So anyway, there you go. It's on offer. It's ninjatables.com/discount-deal. Yeah, that's right.
Why are tables so difficult always?
I don't know.
I'm being true. They are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started by making, our layouts with tables years ago, but now.
Do you remember that? Were you part of that hot mess? Oh, I was so glad when somebody said to me, no, you got to use CSS now. I was like, what is this voodoo? And then displayed how you could separate everything out. And yeah, tables was horrible. And then you had beautiful things like Internet Explorer 5 and 6, which just did whatever they wanted with everything on the website. Yeah. It's kind of nice, though. There's a demo section on this website where it shows you the power of what it can do. And
cool.
One of the nice implementations is you can make a shopping cart almost. Not a shopping cart. You can make like a shopping experience where you can list all of your products and you can add them into the cart by you could add 5 of one particular item and 2 of another, and it'll stick it into your WooCommerce website. It's powerful. It's really good. So I think worth looking at.
Nice.
Peter Ingersoll, sorry, missed your comment there, Peter. He said exactly, I don't know what bit of the conversation we were at that point. It would be great if UX tied to accessibility was part of something like Web Vitals. with this. Oh, that is interesting. Where a score where folks are obsessively focused on trying for 100.
Site Improve does something like that. They have a 0 to 100, but it's a closed like Site Improve. You got to get a pretty expensive license to use that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So this comment, I 100% agree with it, but it also frustrates me because there is a lighthouse score for accessibility, but again, it's a separate bucket, and it's like, I would go the entire way, Peter. I would make the accessibility score a set of individual scores that are part of the main score, for example, rather than being in a separate bucket altogether.
Yeah,
and rather than being in a bucket called accessibility.
So your intent there, Gabriel, would be that it was all rolled up into one, and all of the bits and pieces that we're now worrying about with Core Web Vitals, it was just sort of thrown into there, and it affected your search engine results in a really visible, highly obvious way.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That is such an interesting idea. Thank you, Peter. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. And also, Gabriel, I confess I didn't even know it was buried in there. Whereabouts do we find that? Is it part of? Is it buried in Chrome somewhere or a Chrome-based browser?
Yeah, I don't know all the different ways you can see it, but if you're running a Lighthouse test in Chrome within the browser DevTools, right after you run it, you'll get kind of at the very top, you get a summary of 4 different scores, and one is your performance score, one's SEO, one's accessibility, and I can't remember the fourth one.
I feel that I don't normally like the expression ambulance chasing, but that kind of thing where lawyers go after the low-hanging fruit of things which should be a certain way, and they're obviously not. I chatted with Joe Dolson, who is very much into accessibility on the web, and he was saying that he feels that will increase. There will be lawsuits drawn up, perhaps somewhat disingenuously, but in the end, the fact that these lawsuits are beginning to happen will make us more aware of this as a thing. So although I don't like the idea of ambulance chasing lawyers, the idea is that maybe 2 or 3 years down, we've become so habituated to making it part of our builds that it's just habit. And those tools that you just mentioned, Gabriel, are common to everybody. Yeah. Mark's hello, Mark Westgard. He's only just tuning. Yes, you are seeing double. There is a second Nathan Wrigley, and frankly, she's far better at being me than I am.
It's really hard to tell us apart.
Yeah, it's so similar. Calling it usability rather than accessibility for scoring might help, though, with those afraid or otherwise not interested in accessibility. It's an interesting point. Usability, accessibility, usability. I'm trying to juggle in my mind if I prefer one or the other. But yeah, anyway, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else to add to that, or should we crack on?
Keep going.
Okay, let's crack on. Regular listener to this show is a chap that just lives down the road from me, Elliot Sowersby. He lives in Bridlington, which is about a 20-minute drive. And it was really nice, actually. I needed to go to Bridlington to go to the hospital the other day, and I had no idea how to get there or what the car parking situation was like. So guess what I did? I tweeted Elliot and said, "What's the car parking like?" It was really great. He was immediately forthcoming. So anyway, the WordPress community in the real world. He's got a new plugin, which he asked if I could mention. I'm more than happy to. He goes by RelyWP. That's his website. And Mark was on the show the other day, Mark Westgard from WS Form that we've just mentioned. He has built this into his own plugin solution. He's got WS Form, the form solution, but it's a simple Cloudflare turnstile. Now, Mark, put in the comments if I say any of this wrong, please. But Cloudflare turnstile is a bit like reCAPTCHA, Google's reCAPTCHA, in that it enables you to put in the way of form submissions an obstacle which the users have to go through. I mean, we've seen the which one of these is a sheep? Can you see a motorbike in any of these pictures? And it gets more and more ludicrous to the point where on some occasions I genuinely have no idea what I'm doing. There's also invisible recapture, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. But Cloudflare have come up with their alternative. And so Elliot has decided he's going to build a free plugin. And he said in the comment to me, it will always be free. And he doesn't intend to have any kind of upselly thing. So hat tip there, bravo. And it can protect forms such as your login form, registration form, reset forms, all of the normal WordPressy stuff, comment forms. But also it will protect your checkout form in WooCommerce, and so on and so forth. It works with the following form plugins: WP Form, Fluent Forms, Contact Form 7, Gravity Forms, Formidable Forms. I suspect he didn't put WS Form in because Mark's already done it. And then it also supports other things like Elementor, Pro Forms, MailChimp, and various other things like BodyPress. So what a lot of work, Elliot. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I know Elliot was with us at the beginning of the show. I don't know if he's still with us watching or not.
I suspect he's had to go to he's probably had to go to the hospital in Bridlington. That's where all the cool stuff happens. No, but thank you. I just think that's really nice. I confess, I don't know what would make the Cloudflare solution superior or more desirable than the Google solution. I don't know if it implements things in a sort of slightly different way. Oh, he says he's still here. Look, there he is. Yay, Elliot. Why is capture done through Cloudflare a good idea as opposed to Google's recapture? Is there some metric that we just don't know about? I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Maybe one of you three knows. I don't know.
I think some people just don't like a over-reliance on one vendor's services. It took me ages to realize that CAPTCHA was a thing outside of Google's reCAPTCHA implementation.
Yes. Yeah, there's one called HCAPTCHA, I believe, as well, which offers a sort of similar service. Is there any, I don't know if there's any sort of GDPR stuff here as well. Does it phone home and send data? I have no idea, to be honest. But Elliot, let us know. But bravo. It is called Simple Cloudflare Turnstile. It's there. It's free. It's available right now. So go and grab it if you fancy something along those lines. Okie doke. Right. Okay. I think we've ended the WordPress stuff, if that's all right with you guys. We've still got half an hour. So I want you to watch this video. I'm so sorry to anybody who's listening. Every so often you come across something on the internet and you watch it and you just think, what just happened? This is so cool. Did any of you guys watch this yet?
Just with you at the beginning before we started.
Okay, so I'm just going to describe it, right? So it's a video where somebody's on a mobile phone and you can basically see an image. And it looks like some sort of space agey sort of thing. But I'm going to click play and just watch what goes on. Check this out, right? So she essentially, I think it's a he, starts to pinch to zoom and goes into a picture, a tiny little picture in that frame, and then just keeps going. And in that picture frame, there's a whole nother world. And then in that other world, you keep zooming and you find a tiny train. And then inside the train is a camera. In the lens of the camera is another world. And then inside that other world, right mysteriously on this island, miles away from anywhere, is like a little temple. And if you zoom into one of the windows in the temple, there's like a picture on a wall somewhere. And if you go into that picture on the wall, there's a lady holding a book or something. And then if you go into there, it's like an ocean scene. And what the heck? It just keeps going. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that's cool? I just think that's absolutely phenomenal. Gabriel's put a link in my little show notes here. Is that a similar kind of thing?
Yeah, it just so happened this person was nominated for one of the Jamstack Awards for Best Personal Website. And she did the exact same thing in CSS as her webpage.
It says to me, I'm trying to view it, and it says, "Hey, resize your browser," but I can't. Really,
That's not how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, it was a Lynn and Tonic. What a great What a great URL. I can't look at that one, I'm afraid, but I will post it in the show notes, and anybody that wants to see it. Anyway,
For anyone who's not you, it's actually a really neat.
Yeah, if you resize the browser, it does the same thing. In other words,
very cool.
And you can use.
So are you guys getting a good experience with that? Then can you see something that I can't see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It may be that I'm using Brave, and there's all these sort of other things. Let me just try. I don't want to resize it.
You know what I mean? No. How you drag. Yeah.
Let me try. Let me read.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. Right. So what do we do? Do I pinch?
What it's you gotta literally resize the browser.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you can use Zoom.
No. That is so cool. Oh, that's genius. So basically the operation of resizing the browser has the same. I mean, it's not quite as deep, is it? It's not going to the kind of level that we had a minute ago. Oh my Lord. Is that as far as it goes? That is astonishing.
Wow.
CSS is awesome.
There you go.
That's the beginning, is it? Okay. Oh, I see. I got in halfway through. I got to about here, didn't I? That is absolutely phenomenal. Isn't it scary how clever some people are? Man alive, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
What a bunch of genius. Elliot's come back in and given us some commentary about his plugin. Let's see what he says. Ugh.
Yeah. This is what I thought it was. You don't actually have to complete a CAPTCHA with the turnstile.
So he says, in Cloudflare's own words, turnstile confirms they are real with no visual puzzle, totally transparent. Okay, so you don't have to click buttons and say this is a plane or what have you. That's good to know. Turnstile always preserves the privacy of web visitors on your site without sacrificing effectiveness. Unlike other capture options, we never harvest data for ad retargeting. Okay, so maybe there's the pitch about it. Thank you for letting us know. That's great. Okay, great. Right. What do we all think about Twitter this week? That's going to be the basis of the next 5 minutes or so. I don't know if you saw, but there's this fairly wealthy chap apparently called Elon Musk, and he decided this week that he was going to spend something along the lines of $44 billion, which is, my understanding is that's quite a lot of money. And he was going to buy a social network, and he chose Twitter. And the controversy goes on. We all know the controversy. We've heard about this. This is an article on The Verge called "Welcome to Hell, Elon," where they lay out the case why it's not going to be as easy as basically hiring a bunch of engineers. The principle being that owning a social network and running a social network is about the frailties and weirdnesses of humans as much as it is about having a platform and dealing with the rage and the hate and the controversy and all of the things which end up on a social network. I'm going to just put my hat into the ring here and just say, if this thing troubles you, and you think, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Twitter in the future, may I suggest that you look at something called Mastodon? It's an open federated social network. You can find it if you just Google Mastodon. About a year ago, so long before Elon decided that he was going to purchase Twitter, I was starting to have thoughts around this anyway. I wasn't quite sure I wanted to be advertised that quite so heavily, and I wasn't so sure that I really liked the algorithmic way my feed was pushed to me, and I really had no conception of how stuff ever got there anyway. Mastodon is a bit different in that everything's chronological. So rewind to like 2009 with Twitter. What you see is what was most recent. Recent is at the top. Scroll back. So if you haven't used Mastodon for 36 hours, you know that if you stop scrolling at 36 hours, you've seen everything that you would need to see. So I have an install of it. I would just like to say that you don't need to come to my install. You can go to all the other different installs, but the install that I've got, the intention would be that we would keep the conversation around WordPress, right? Makes sense. You can find it at wpbuilds.social. Let me say that one more time. wpbuilds.social, which is a URL. Strangely, I didn't realize you could get a .social until I bought it. And you can sign up there, and it's free. I'm going to keep this service going for as long as people would like to make use of it. But I just thought I'd just show you what the experience looks like. So this is it. This is Mastodon. I've taken away the stuff which is private messages, but you can. Can you see it looks a bit like what did you call it? TweetDeck or something?
Yes.
Is it TweetDeck? So there's an option to have it as in this way, where you've got different columns and various things. So you can bookmark things. You can have a home feed here, which is showing all of the things from people that I follow. In order to follow somebody, if you don't follow them already, let me see if I can find an example. Basically, next to people is a little icon with a plus, and you just click the button and you begin following them. Notifications appear in a column. You can move them to the left and move them to the right, as you might expect. And then this is everything that's happening on my instance of Mastodon. So this is the local timeline, and you can see that it's me, and look, there's Bob and Gina and various other people and Anne. So this is all the public stuff on the local timeline. This is the federated timeline. So this is all of the other Mastodon installs that I've federated to. And you federate by just basically following them. So I don't know where these come from. This is one called wandering.shop. Somebody set up a Mastodon install called wandering.shop. But there's absolutely loads of them. This one's called mastodon.social. I think that's probably the biggest one, the most popular one. And they all interoperate. So if you fancied setting one of these up for yourself, you don't have to federate with anybody else. You could just have it as a closed box. And just have conversations with people who joined it. So you could set it up for your family or your business, and nobody could join if you chose not to allow them in. The other option is if you go into preferences, you can turn off that kind of interface and save it. And then you can go back, and it looks a lot more like Twitter. I mean, it really does look quite a lot like Twitter, doesn't it? And it's just, there it is. It's one thing after another. It's got a few nice little features. For a start, there's a 500 character text limit. That's quite nice. If you upload an image, you can add accessibility related things. You can add, metadata to it. You can also have it so that images are not shown by default. They're kind of blurred out. So if you're writing something that you believe might be sensitive to other people, you can blur the image out, and then somebody has to click on it to engage it. And you can also decide how you want it to be listed, to followers only, mention people only, and so on and so forth. I just really like it. I imagine most people are not as concerned as I am about things like Elon Musk taking over Twitter, but it's just a nice option out there if you fancy joining this one. What are your thoughts on this? I know, Michelle, you're sticking around on Twitter, aren't you? You're really happy with it.
Well, I mean, at least for now, right? So I think one of the things to remember is it's interesting where you want to be as an individual, but remember that an entire ecosystem is also using Twitter right now. So where are your customers? So even if you don't like the way things are going, but all of your customers are there, do you stay there so that you can still continue to reach your customers through your, maybe not my personal Twitter, but through my business Twitter accounts? And so adopting a new platform like Mastodon doesn't necessarily mean you've left the old one right away, because you have to figure out where people are migrating to and meet your customers where they are. So it's not a cut and dry in a lot of respects.
It's quite interesting. So here's a chap who works with WordPress a bit. He works for the UK, I think it's the Ministry of Defence. He's called Kev Quirk. And he's got a CSS framework, and he's very giving. He's got an instance called Fostodon, FOSS as in free open source software. And he over there, really amazing. If you see on the screen here, he's got 19,000 followers over on Mastodon. And I actually thought those kind of numbers couldn't exist yet on Mastodon. I'm sure that there's people who have significantly less. There's probably a bunch of people who have significantly more. But it did kind of make me think, actually, do you know what? Maybe this has got legs. Maybe there is a sort of groundswell. The guy who is the lead architect of the platform, which, again, is free and open source, is called Eugene. And he has said that over the last few days, I think they were on something like 50 or 60,000 new signups per day. And as a result of that, his instance of Mastodon, which is, I believe, mastodon.social, he's having to get a load of new hardware and pay for some new hardware because of the the burden of the server being pinged quite as much as it is. But yeah, what do you think, Daniel?
For me, it's kind of a wait and see. See what happens. Part of the appeal of doing Mastodon is that we can start over. I don't know if you're getting away from whatever you might be trying to leave on Twitter, though. So it all depends, to me, on a lot of the things that are concerning on Twitter are more around the kind of the looking at the content and making sure that the right folks are getting flagged for what they're putting up and stuff like that.
Yeah. What about you, Gabriel? Have you any thoughts on this? Do you do much social? If so,
I don't really do much social these days. As Michelle can probably tell you, she's always like, "Did you get that thing I tweeted?" And I'm like,
"Oh, yeah, well, that guy."
But I think this is kind of neat. It's like, I like the idea of having more of a democratized approach to social media, and I like how for people who do kind of want their own network, there's still a way to federate with a larger community with this. But it also just seems like you're trading out one set of problems for another, and also the traffic thing is interesting. If you think of this, if it ever gets close to the scale of Twitter, even circa 2010, and you're running a local server and you're pulling in federated data from other servers, does everyone suddenly have to run like an entire farm of servers to power their own network just to handle the integration with other sites? Those are the kinds of questions that come up for me.
Yeah. And I guess the answer would simply be it scales, doesn't it? It's a bit like a successful WordPress site. You wouldn't really want to put that on affordable hosting, as the sites that you build, Rolling Stone and Billboard and so on. They're probably on kind of bulletproof hosting that can consume the amount of requests that come their way. The same would be true of this. I've just got it on a really simple budget host because it doesn't really need any more than that. But the thing that I like is that there's no algorithm on the feed. It's just chronological, and I've discovered that that's really cool because it just shows me what I'm anticipating to be shown. There's no how did that get there? And the other big thing is it's obviously completely ad free, and that to me is quite a big bonus of it as well. I've not got this every fourth or third post or whatever it might be. Is that sponsored? Was that a sponsored thing I just saw? I'm not sure. Oh yeah, it was sponsored. All of that's gone, and for that reason, I really like it. The other thing is the only thing, my understanding, the only thing that's searchable is hashtags. So if you want to search things, the only thing that you can search for is hashtags. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody told me that was the case. But anyway, yeah, it's cool. Bob WP says it was a small amount. Oh, is this your Twitter exodus? But interestingly, my unfollowers were up this morning. 18 out of 22 actually closed their account. Ooh, wow. Okay, small amount in relation to my number of followers, but more than usual. So 22 people that were following you just a few days ago have actually left Twitter on a permanent basis. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not kind of there yet. There's also interesting to know there's a bunch of cross-posting tools which are freely available online. So if you post on Twitter or in Mastodon immediately, and I really do mean within a second, then it's been put onto the other network. So you can kind of do double duty there if you want to stay on Twitter, but you fancy doing the interface in Mastodon, you can do it that way around as well. So yeah, there you go. Some weird kind of phrases. Instead of tweeting, you toot, which sounds a bit ruder, if you ask me.
It does.
There you go. Yeah, but it's the elephant analogy, Mastodon.
Yep.
Anyway, there we go. Righty. I've got one more piece, and then it's probably time to knock it on the head. And that is to say that pig vomit. I'm never going to say that sentence ever again, am I? Pig vomit toxin is the key to Martian meteorite mystery. What more is there to say? Turns out that a while ago, quite a long time ago, about 100 years ago, a meteor fell from outer space, right? And it was picked up and sent into a university, and I quote, by a black student who witnessed it. Ever since then, nobody's been able to figure out who the person was who handed it in until the intrepid, where is she? Oh, where's she gone? There she is. The intrepid Dr. Aine O'Brien decided to take small chunks out of the meteorite and have a look at what was inside of it. And you can't make it up, can you? It turns out that a toxin which makes pigs vomit was present on the meteorite. So she determined from that it must have been in some kind of like riverbed or something, a time when this toxin was highly, just in the environment. There were 2 or 3 dates when this disease, this pig vomiting disease, occurred. So from that information, she was able to narrow it down to these 4 fine people. It's got to be one of 4, she reckons. So there you go, a bit of Sherlock Holmes sleuthing.
You just never know, do you?
You just never know. That's right. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Have any of you guys got a pick of the week, or should we knock it on the head?
Nothing that rivals pig vomit.
No. I mean, nobody was going to be able to eclipse that one. Let's be.
No.
Have you got any plans for Halloween? Do you do anything special where you are? In the UK, it's really not that. It's like for little tiny kids. The adults don't really get involved, I don't think.
I'm just gonna, greet the children at the door dressed as you to give them candy.
I was going to ask you, Michelle, how long is that? Like, is that outfit coming off the minute this is finished recording, or
my head? I'm so itchy right now. It's all I can do not to be scratching like a dog with fleas.
I was going to wonder if we could have like a Twitter feed for the rest of the day of Michelle going about her day dressed as me.
Well, the problem is my challenge of the day is that I am in meetings straight after this right until 2:30. So while I can lose the wig, I am still going to have 5 o'clock shadow most of the day.
But, Michelle, all I can say is at least you can stop looking like me. I have to maintain the look for the rest of my life, sadly.
So
there was a very funny joke by Winston Churchill. I won't say it now because it's a bit inappropriate, but it was something along those lines.
Well, my offer to you, Nathan, is if your wife would like this wig or your children, I'm happy to send it along so they too can look like you.
No. But that's very kind. Thank you.
Oh, wait. We could auction it off for big
no, come on.
There you go.
Value $1. Let's start the bidding there, and I'll buy it because we know that's as high as it's going to go. Thank you very much. Anything happening to you today or this week, Daniel or Gabriel? Have you got any plans? Anything you want to share?
No, after that website launch for Pinos.gov, I'm trying to get back to reality.
Yeah. Just take a sit down. Gabriel, anything happening for you this week?
Looking forward to handing out candy tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's my big plan for the week.
Yeah. So does anybody do tricking? Is that still a thing? Do people actually carry that out? And does it get to the point where, things get broken and damage is done to property and stuff like that? Because that was kind of a bit of what got happening in the UK. Is that if you said trick, there was quite a lot of damage that got done, and so
maybe a few broken pumpkins, and if you're a particularly evil person, you may wake up tomorrow morning with toilet paper in your trees. But
okay, yeah.
I haven't seen too much of that in the recent years. So
the trick is to just fill up on sweets, isn't it, and have a boatload of them by the door, and then you avoid all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who made a comment. Really appreciate it. There's lots of you today. That was really nice. We'll be back next week. I don't know who it is off the top of my head, but we'll have one of our co-hosts, but also some fine WordPressy guests. So thank you to Daniel Schutzsmith. Thank you to Gabriel Koen, and thank you to Nathan Wrigley. aka Michelle Frechette. That was genuinely hysterically funny. I really appreciate it. Now, just before we go, right, we have to do this little wave thing. Gabriel, I'm really sorry about this if you didn't get warned. Essentially, we all wave, and I use it as the album art. But Wait for it, right? I don't know if this is going to work. Right. So what I was thinking was, could
I'm
we
too
all?
short.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Could we all now align your head perfectly and give us a wave there? And now your humiliation is complete. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Take